Welcome to the Mayor Show. As always, we bring up very important things in our community, and certainly today you're going to hear some of the most important things we do. We have our police department obviously with us, the best police department in my view of all of the state of Pennsylvania and maybe anywhere. Well done. They have the best training, they have the best everything, and we're going to talk about that today, of what that has let us lead to, which is international accreditation. And Bill, I'm going to open up with you to give us a little bit of detail of that. And I have with us Sergeant Trapiano here, Neil Trapiano, and he's the manager of the accreditation here in Bensalem at our police department. So you're going to get a lot of information, important information that means so much to all of us here, the safety in Bensalem Township. So Director Bill, I'll start with you. If you want to start out about this accreditation, and I think this is the second time we've been accredited for the international?
Third.
Third time. I'm getting old, okay? Getting old. Third time around, yes. So why don't you bring us some details about that?
Well, thank you for having us today, Mayor. I think this is very important for the community to hear. This past month, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement, we call CALEA, that's the acronym, just recently awarded Bensalem for the third consecutive time the accreditation status. And why that's so important is it gives us the gold standard seal of policing. So it's very important for the community to know that we're subscribing to the highest standards of policing. It keeps our people accountable, the highest levels of integrity, and it shows a commitment to excellence is what we want people to know, that we're policing the best we can, and we're keeping up with this rigorous schedule and the standards that are set internationally that shows that we are the cream of the crop. To give you an example, only 9 municipal police departments in Pennsylvania have this status, and 19 law enforcement agencies in Pennsylvania have it, to include universities or communications departments. So there's over 1,200 departments in Pennsylvania, so think about that. We're one of 19 out of 1,200 that have this. And we also have accreditation through the state. So I think it would be appropriate for Sergeant Trapiano to maybe go through what he does to keep our department in compliance so the community understands really what it takes to achieve this.
Yeah, and before I go into that, one thing, I went to Alabama for the first time. When
yes, you did.
It was accredited, and it's incredible that what you can't imagine what you had to go through to be accredited. So I'll leave it up to you, Sergeant, now to give us some detail on that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for having me. Director, thank you for having me. So with CALEA, there's 167 standards that we have to meet. With these standards, they show training, community involvement, use of force, pursuits, patrol tactics, traffic enforcement. There's a ton of different issues in policing and ways that we go about doing things that we have to meet, improve, and maintain these standards on a yearly basis. So, for example, with pursuits, there's an actual standard on pursuits, and with that standard, it outlines you have to meet the responsibilities of each officer involved in a pursuit, whether it be the first initial officer, the secondary officer unit in the pursuit, and the supervisor responsibilities. Also, the training that department members get on pursuits, and every year we go through a review of the policy, of the pursuit policy, and an initial training that when we hire new officers, we have to show that as well. That's just one example of the many standards. So within that pursuit standard alone, you have to meet 14 different requirements. And you have to prove that by showing reports, signatures for reviewing the policies, and other things such as how we handle these pursuits on when we have them. With CALEA, this is our third time we've been accredited through CALEA, and every year they do a remote assessment. So at the end of this year and the beginning of next year, there will be an assessment where they go into all of our proofs of compliance and check and make sure that we are meeting all those standards. If there's a little issue or something, they say, hey, you got to fix this, change the wording in this. We did have something I had to change a word once to say documented training, because it just said annual training. It actually needs to say documented, because the standard actually says you have to say document annual training. So at the end of the year, they do that. They go in to do the remote assessment, and then after that, they do 4 interviews for the standards that we feel that are something we want to show that we prove on a daily basis. So there may be a use of force standard that we say, okay, we'll set up an interview with a command staff officer who reviews these use of forces, and they're able to explain it to the assessor, and the assessor said, okay, that they like to hear it from the actual people. So every year we do that. At the end of the 4th year, there's an on-site assessment. So they do a remote assessment a little earlier on, and then they do an on-site assessment. So at the end of last year, it was around October, a CALEA assessor came out. She went through all of what we do here. She does not do a remote assessment. There's actually a separate person that does a remote assessment. So when she came out, it was more so based on the interviews. We do a tour throughout the department, show her all the different standards we meet just by like our holding facility, make sure we're meeting all the standards there, the way we process evidence, the way we hold evidence. That's another standard we have to meet. They go into there, they take a look at that, and then they say, okay, you're good, you're in compliance, or you may need to fix this before you go to an actual hearing before the board, which is after the assessment. So she also conducted 4 separate interviews when she came out this year. I took her to a PAL hockey game to show our community engagement, which CALEA love that because they're really big on being engaged with the community to show that we are, we're people. We're not just police officers. We're people as well, and we connect with the community. We also did an interview with the schools and the school safety. All of our SROs were there. Members of the school district were in that interview. We did a recruitment and retention interview. And then after that, she submits a report with her findings and the remote assessor's findings to the commission. And then once it gets in front of the commission, the director and Lieutenant Bush sat in front of the commission this year, and they ask a few questions. They try to get a feel on the department other than what's in the report. And then once they say, okay, you're good, you're accredited, and you're certified, and you get accredited through CALEA.
Well, I tell you what, the sergeant knows what he's doing here, and I don't know if I could ever get that all done, Sergeant. Really, it's a tough job. It's just not going through all these little things.
Sarge does a tremendous job
Yes,
to keep us at this standard.
And
Thank you, sir.
thank you for that. That's really incredible how you get this done. What do you think this leads us to? All this accreditation we do, what do you think?
Well, I think it gives the community, number one, confidence that they have an accredited police department who's evaluated independently. And I think that's a great question because when we were in Garden Grove, California, the board was very impressed with our crime reduction strategies and the results. And I think this is so important for the community. So we emphasize the professionalism, accreditation, but we also still have to keep our community safe. And that's part of that. And the results, Mayor, are kind of, I think, staggering. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a 56% reduction in burglaries, right? Think about that. And then in robberies alone, we've also seen around a 60% reduction. So these numbers are really showing what our men and women are doing out there on a daily basis is having an impact. We've seen specifically our Part 1 crimes are the more dangerous crimes that everyone worries about. 12% they're down the last 2 years. And our clearance rate, us arresting people for these crimes, is up 15%. So we got a good balance there. Yeah. Crime down, clearance rate up. And right now, after 2024, almost 50% of Part 1 crimes are cleared by arrest by our men and women. Phenomenal work.
It is.
So I think it's the professionalism that the sergeant's pushing. Our command staff does an exceptional job. All the leaders, the supervisors, our civilian staff, and our men and women and detectives and on the street are doing a tremendous job. Keeping us accredited, but mainly keeping our residents safe. That's the main thing they're doing out there.
Yeah, and that's being done here. I couldn't be more proud of our community, our police, our EMS and fire, all of our things. Couldn't be more proud of that, and we work daily on this, and it's incredible, the results. And the safety is everything. The safety of our community is everything. It comes first, and we're getting it done here, and we're going to continue to get done. We have to make sure you have all the tools that you need to get accredited. You got to make sure that you have all this stuff. So, do you want to add anything, Sergeant?
I do. We did run some stats when we were going through our accreditation and all, and from being accredited with CALEA in 2017 until 2024, we made over 25,000 arrests. And this just goes to show how being accredited is a big part of getting numbers down. So our use of force incidents in those 25,000 arrests was 113 incidents, which equals a 0.44% of arrests we use force, which is astronomically low. Same thing with pursuits. We did have to, as I brought up the pursuit policy earlier, with pursuits, we had from 2017 to 2024, we had 57 pursuits. In the past 2 years, in 2023, we had 1 pursuit. In 2024, we had 2. So being accredited also helps the community stay safe. When keeping those numbers down and pursuits doesn't just, if something happens, a crash, it's not this person that we're going after the crashes. It could be a family, it could be the officer, someone else can get injured. And with the accreditation and making sure we're meeting those standards, it shows that we are reaching that gold standard that we want to reach.
Wow. Well, Director, I'm going to give you the last say.
I have 2 points. Thank you.
Unless you have something else, Sergeant, if you want to add something else.
Real quick, we are also
Sure.
PLEAC accredited. With PLEAC, that's the state accreditation. They're more state-specific standards. With that, there's 184 Pennsylvania agencies that are PLEAC accredited, and we are one of them. We've been accredited with them since 2014, and there's 121 standards with PLEAC, as there's 167 with CALEA, there's 121 with PLEAC. So just to let you know that we are going through our process now. They will be coming out for an on-site visit in May to do the same thing that CALEA does. They'll take the tour and all that, and they also do a remote assessment of all of our standards.
So it's almost something going on all the time to stay
Yes,
accredited,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Seriously.
Yeah, right,
Well, that's important. Do new standards come up as the
New ones
New
do come up.
accredit-
Yes, they do make kind of like edit or fix some things depending on what's going on with laws and other types of things that could affect the standards. Yes, they do. And then you have to change your policy. That's one big thing with being accredited is your policies always have to be up to date. So I review the policies on a monthly basis. They get approved by our command staff. If the wording needs to be changed or anything like that, they're approved and they go back out to everybody. And it shows that our guys are looking at these policies because they go out to our department members every month. So we have 112 general orders, which are policies in the department, and they go out about 10 a month. They go out to the department to review.
You got to imagine, you got 107 police officers have to be up to date on everything, and I guess that's part of your job.
Yes, sir.
Keep everybody up to date on this, right? I will give you the last word, Director.
One point, so the community understands. Our pursuits are way down, but that's the control of the officers and the supervisors. People fleeing from us has gone up astronomically. They don't obey the law anymore, but it's the control of the officer. They want to chase, but it's only for certain crimes that we will allow that. So everyone remains safe, as the sergeant said. We can't just chase everyone.
Yeah.
So that's a balance we have to have. And then the last thing I wanted to do is I wanted to thank you, Mayor. You've always supported this, as you see from what the sergeant said. It's a lot of work.
Oh.
He's dedicated to this program with staff and also council. You guys approve our budget and the tools we need. So we thank you for that.
That's a given. It's a given. That is the most important thing, and everybody has to understand that. It costs money too, so we have to make sure that those standards stay there and that we support that. And I will always support it, and I know the council we had does. So in the future, I see nothing but being accredited again. You'll never lose your job as long as you get us accredited. And
Thank you, sir.
Sergeant, I thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Director, good to
Appreciate
have
it.
you again. And,
Always a pleasure.
it's your police department. Be proud as I am, and they're going to continue to give you the safety you deserve. And until next time, everybody, God bless.